Hey home bakers, it's Jack here, bakewithjack.co.uk, bringing you your weekly bread making tip every single Thursday, and this week, how to keep your fresh yeast fresh. Roll that theme tune. Hello to you and welcome back to the Bake with Jack YouTube channel, where I share with you a little bit of my bread making expertise every single Thursday to help you make amazing bread at home. If that's your cup of tea and you haven't clicked subscribe yet, consider clicking subscribe if you get some value out of this. Last week we spoke about why I like to use fresh yeast so much, why I use it at home and in class, and where to get it from in the first place. And I feel like the fact that it's called fresh yeast automatically makes people think that it doesn't last very long, and so then dry yeast is necessary. But what if I told you that you can keep fresh yeast in the fridge fresh for up to a month? That's right, fresh yeast lasts really well in the fridge, and aside from the obvious benefits in texture and flavour of your loaf of bread, another benefit for using fresh yeast is that it tells you when it's getting older. You can tell it changes its form, it changes its smell, it changes its aroma, it changes its colour to let you know it's getting old, whereas dry yeast stays looking exactly the same when it's going to work or when it's not going to work. Fresh yeast has signs, subtle signals to let you know that it's probably not good to use anymore. So here's how to keep fresh yeast fresh, and afterwards we'll talk about those signs for you to look out for to know it's probably time to throw it away. Cut to the table. Here's my fresh yeast here, it's in a bag. Firstly, let me apologise for the state of my hands. We've all been washing our hands 150 times a day these days, okay? So this is what happens. This is my fresh yeast that come from the shop. I got it yesterday, and the first thing you want to do as soon as you get it home is get it out of the bag. I got this one yesterday, and you can see on the other side, as things steam up, completely dissolves the bag like this. Makes it really weak, and then it's just going to rip up and fall out. It'll be a real shame. So I've got a box here. Can you see that up there? Trying a new angle. Box there. I've got some parchment paper. Hold on. A bit of parchment paper in there, enough to cover the bottom and the top of the yeast. Now I'm going to open up this bag like this. Here it is. This is 200 grams. I actually got this yesterday from Sainsbury's for 60 pence. That's how ridiculous it is, right? You probably don't need 200 grams. I'm going to put it in there, get rid of this bag. Like that. Now with the paper, I'm going to do it over the top like this. Sorry, it's crunchy, I know. Lid on top. Just like that. Cover with the paper, pop the lid on top and store it just like that in your fridge. Your yeast is going to breathe, okay? It's going to huff and puff inside of that box, and that's why it's important to line it with paper, top and bottom, because otherwise the huff and puff will turn into condensation that will build up on the ceiling of your box and rain down on top of your yeast, making a big yeasty puddle in the bottom of your box, and that's not what you want. As long as you keep it nice and it's fresh when you got it and you put it in the fridge and it's cold, you can buy 50 grams of yeast and that'll last you for 4 weeks. For example, if you did one loaf a week for 4 weeks, that's 12 grams a loaf, that's 48, give or take the 2 grams left over. That's a month's worth of bread out of 50 grams of yeast. Your yeast can live up to a month in your fridge, and the reason I say up to a month is because we're dealing with food here, and it's important that we don't keep stuff for too long. I say up to a month because that's my little insurance buffer. It's like an up to 50% off sale in a shop, when actually most of the stuff's 10% off, and sometimes stuff is 50% off. It's up to a month because you got to have a think about it. You got to look at it and decide for yourself. Make a call, have a look at the signs, and this is what they are. If it smells unpleasant or slightly dodgy, throw it away. Smell it when you get it. It should be a fresh, yeasty smell. If it starts to smell like bad, unpleasant, some people don't like the smell of fresh yeast in the beginning, but if you smell it first, it's got a real fresh, light, vibrant aroma. If that aroma starts turning a little bit dodgy, just throw it away to be safe. If your yeast starts growing stuff that shouldn't be there, I'm talking about white fur or black stuff or anything green, throw it away. When you buy it, normally it's quite crumbly, and then sometimes it turns a bit soft and like plasticine and blue tacky over time. That's okay. What you want to avoid is anything dodgy in terms of smell, in terms of appearance. Anything looks bad, it smells bad. If anything crosses your mind, makes you feel slightly uneasy, just get rid of it. I've used fresh yeast before. That's way older than a month, I'm not afraid to tell you, but I've checked it, I've looked at it, I've used my brain and my experience to make the call, to make the decision to go ahead or not. And you need to do the same. In a paper-lined plastic box like this is the best way I have found of keeping yeast in the quantities we need it for as home bakers. And if you missed last week's video about where to get it from in the first place, check it out. And if you don't want to miss next week's video, whatever that might be, consider clicking subscribe and we'll be here. You know what the deal is. So listen, thank you so much for being here for your weekly bread making tip. I look forward to seeing you next week for another one. Bye-bye. And there we are, part 2 of a possibly irrelevant series just now, as our bread tip of the week is taking a break. We resume the Bread SOS service every single Thursday. If you don't want to miss any of my content of the week, sign up for your Home Bakers Bulletin, an absolutely free weekly email in your inbox with all my content from the week every single Thursday morning. See you in a bit.